Thanks, Scott. And yes, good morning, good evening for those of you who have an evening going on, or whenever it is when you decide to listen to the recording, because it is being recorded. And I know that a lot of people are going to be able to take advantage of tapping into some of the great sessions here at the RECONNECT conference this week. So as Scott said, we're going to be talking about how intelligent technology, robotic automation, other kinds of software technology is leading our, customers, our companies into what's being kind of come to known as digital transformation, using technology to kind of transform or, expand and alter how we engage in our business processes, how our people that work with us can engage in and do more of the work that they're doing. So that's what we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk about robotic automation, which I'm pretty sure everybody who's here on this session is already pretty familiar with what we're talking about when we say RPA. We're going to talk about some kind of use cases or scenarios in which other PeopleSoft customers, other ERP customers, big or small, all different sorts, are using this kind of technology within their HR world. But it's, of course, not limited to HR. We're going to kind of focus the conversation at some level in that arena. But we're also talking about how people benefit from your team, your employees, your users benefit from enhancements to the software world these days. So let's go ahead and get started. Many of you who've been in the PeopleSoft world for a long time, I'm sure, have heard of Gideon Taylor. Gideon Taylor is expanding our business. We have recently merged with Intra-C and Newberry Enterprise Services to really expand the volume or the extent of our portfolio, if you will, of products and services that really are made to enhance the working processes of our customers that are using PeopleSoft, which is also in itself using the greatest new innovative technologies to expand the functionality delivered and the use of the PeopleSoft system. Well, Gideon Taylor and our team is going further. And as you can see, we also have been focusing on robotic automation for a number of years as well. So we're going to talk very quickly about the value of using this technology for your team. What's the value to the team? The focus ought to be, and I think it generally is when our customers are looking at leveraging the robotic automation software, the focus is improving productivity. And productivity can be measured by how much work can get done each day or each hour or each month or year. How much work can get done? Can we have more work get done in less time by helping our people, by freeing up our people from the mundane and repetitive tasks that they focus on? So the software has been designed not just to make the systems faster, but to make the flow of the business process, the cycles and the steps and the tasks work much more smoothly. So increasing collaboration between people by having the person who needs to approve, and you've seen it in PeopleSoft with notifications and alerts, and the approval process has been truly enhanced with the use of Fluid, for example, to have your approval pop up on your phone and say, yes, I approve, that kind of a thing. Well, the software outside of PeopleSoft can facilitate the interaction and increase the collaboration of people by having the software or the system be a little bit more intuitive in how it works from step to step through these broad parts of running your business. Automating how people interact with the stuff they have to do to get their work done. And so I'm going to talk about robotic automation, but I'm also going to talk about the use of this technology in what we've come to know as chatbots as well, because all of this technology can enhance the way people, interact with their systems. Repetitive tasks are automated. Things that people have to do where they have a huge stack of stuff on their plate. If that stack can be either made much more, seamless, and so that it can go quicker, that's good. But maybe their stack can even be lower because the bot can do stuff that they don't have to do anymore. So guided processes are easy, and the intuitive interface that it makes it very easy for a person to work through that stack, either by talking to a chat bot and just simply telling them what to do for you, or by interacting with the PeopleSoft system in a way that is just quick and fast. So the value is pretty great, but focusing in on robotic automation, and also with chatbots too, but starting with RPA, the bot itself does what humans tend to do. So we're not talking about the kinds of things where we're doing mass data load in the back, in terms of, well, we're all familiar with how COBOL runs our payrolls and huge batch process and so on. So those are bots too, in a way, in that those are, that software is happening and they're doing what people used to do back in those days. Remember, in the very, very old days, before we had systems like, our ERP systems, we had to do things on paper. Well, software has been simulating human actions for a very long time. That's kind of what software can do. But the bots that we're talking about now are a bit more in how humans interact with their systems, where the bot can log in and navigate through by clicking and typing the way a human does. The instructions that your people are instructed to follow, the rules that your company needs to follow, the compliance and regulatory rules, that can be incorporated into how the bot interacts with the systems too. And checkpoints can be included in the bot and so on. So the great thing about RPA is, because it's kind of looking at what the human being does, it can be very quick to implement. In fact, a lot of the the coding work for developing a bot is essentially to record where it clicks, where you type, where you go, and what the process is. It can be recorded in the background while a person is actually doing it. And then you can alter and say, instead of typing what I typed, which was ABC123, use the data that you pulled from the email or something like that. And so that's what a bot does, is it simulates what humans do. And the benefits are the kinds of things I was talking about before: accelerating the achievement of business objectives. This is not all about what the CIO and the CFO and the CEO are looking for, but a lot of it should demonstrate to our leadership that, yeah, the business is growing, our profitability, our efficiency is improving, and we're expanding even with the same size of our team, that sort of thing. But improving experience, and especially in the HR world, the experience of your HR team, but also of your employees in general, in that they get response from HR in a much more effective way, and they're happier that what they were asking gets completed and achieved that much sooner. Compliance, cost, and risk, a lot of regulatory stuff that we have to do, especially in the HR world, is a big focus of that team, is making sure that we're going according to either the plan or the rules, or we're doing it right, we're not making errors. And so automating a process helps reduce the number of human errors, where we make mistakes, or we click the wrong button, or we didn't notice something, but also that it is done in a consistent fashion. And satisfaction and engagement, a big part of many HR processes, are about making sure that employees are engaged in their work, engaged well with their company, that they're happy, of course, working here, but also that they don't dwell on things that distract them or keep them from doing a good part of their job. And so having the software focus on those kinds of objectives is a key part. It's not just about moving data from one system to another. It can be some of that, but it really ought to be about increasing employee satisfaction across the board. So things that you can do, that you do, bots can do: log in, move files and folders, read and write to databases, fill in forms, all of these kinds of things. That's what we talk about all the time when we deal with PeopleSoft systems, getting data from one to the other, doing interfaces and integrations. But also when we talk about the usability or the small form factor forms of the fluid interface and so on, what we're talking about is making, getting the data or getting the system to transact and interact with the system more efficient for your users. Well, that's what the bot's about as well. So, when we look at a process where somebody says, okay, I've got to update that record in PeopleSoft, I navigate to the proper page, or we go to the home page, we click the tile and we open up the page, and then we have to do the search to find the employee, and then we do it, and then we do the update. Well, how did I know that I had to look for that employee ID instead of my team or something like that? Well, something triggered my action. Either I'm working through a list, or I'm responding to an email, or I'm reading a document, and the thing on the document says, oh, I need to, pick a case. We've got a new hire, and so I need to go into the system and I need to enter the data. Well, that kind of information, that this is the new hire, that doesn't live in PeopleSoft yet. That lives in an email, or it lives on somewhere else. And so the bot can interact with that kind of an email or a PDF file or something like that, and then do the same kind of work, say, in the PeopleSoft system. So that's what we're going to talk about. In the HCM world, there's a bunch of different areas or parts of the HR, organization that really are pretty good examples of how we can use this kind of automation within that HR, part of the office. So in terms of talent acquisition and recruiting and, engaging in new employees, RPA can provide unbiased scoring of candidates. That is, a lot of times in the talent acquisition side, in the recruiting side, we get a lot of candidates, but we have to go through and make sure that, when we're going to set up interviews or something like that, that the people that we are considering, viable candidates follow some guidelines, like they live within the, this range or something like that. Well, a lot of that sorting, and so we look at, inside our ATS systems or something like that, we expect that kind of filtering to be done. But it's not just that. We have our people do more of that work, scoring candidates, but also once we have one coming in as a new hire, then there's a whole set of processes that get kicked off when we're bringing new people into the team. So onboarding activities. In the operations side, onboarding and offboarding, contingent work, the termination of an employee, all of these kinds of things kick off lots of new tasks on your HR team's, plate, of course. Compensation and benefits, when we have changes, when there are new events, or supporting people through open enrollment or, decision of some of these things. That's where more information for your employees. This is a good candidate, for example, with respect to the use of chatbots within HR, is making sure that people have access, they can ask questions, they can interact, and not take up, a lot of time on the telephone talking to your HR team. Now, if there's an exception, the bot can, of course, pass that exception and say, let me connect you with Jane from our HR team, or something like that. So the bot can interact with your team. It doesn't have to do things instead of them. On the IT side, a lot of times with respect to HR, there's data loading, data moving. You think about a time when there's a new merger, or the company acquires, and you have to import a lot. It's not just the data in the back end and make sure that the old system that company we just acquired gets migrated into PeopleSoft. A lot of it is work on the HR team side to give them access to our systems on the IT side, these kinds of things. Of course, on the outbound side, termination means shutting things down and closing. And again, compliance and regulatory stuff comes up there. Digital assistance on the employer experience, that's the big focus, that your employees, not just your HR team, have access to great information, but also RPA can help the workload of your HR team. Safety and compliance, talked about that, making sure that the I-9 is submitted, these kinds of things. And then also on the training and learning and the knowledge transfer side, there's a lot of automation. So access to the right kind of material, making sure that the person on your team has, essentially done the work they need to do in order to qualify for the new role. That kind of compliance and verifying of the information. These are all areas that when we talk to our customers, especially in the HR world, when we're talking to them, they're looking at, these are the things that are big burdens on their human team. These are big things that take a lot of time, that are rather repetitive. We're in the middle of this change and the team has a stack so huge. Well, that tells us that there might be opportunities to automate some of that. And here's a screen of an onboarding process, for example, pre-boarding and then onboarding as of day one and beyond, is that what happens that triggers a whole series of tasks is an event happens. We give somebody an offer for a new position and they accept. When they accept, a whole bunch of stuff has to happen prior to day one. And it has to happen in time. And a lot of that is interactive between various teams, the hiring manager, the hiring team, the manager's team, the HR team, the IT team, doing setup and so on. So that activity triggers that there's a new hire that has accepted, triggers a lot of stuff that has to get done. And then day one also triggers a number of other things. The manager has to do a number of things, but also the HR team in the background has to do a lot of things. So part of our process in working with you and coming up with ideas about how we can use RPA to help is looking through, I don't mean just a diagram like this, but having a conversation where we say, okay, let's look at what gets done in these processes and identify where there might be opportunities for automation to assist us, not do it instead, but to help us. So some of these steps are pretty good examples where, especially when it's data driven, if something happened, now we have some data because we know who the person is and we have to give them access to our systems. We have to set them up with their accounts. We need to inform them, send the emails and so on. So some of this is automated already within your various ERP systems, including PeopleSoft. And some of this is step-by-step tracked through your people's workflow. So, creating announcements and distributing them, scheduling activities. Some of that can be, it's already automatic because you've already got it built in, but some of that is more interactive in that what happens if something has to change. And so some of these things are good candidates for looking at ways either a bot can make things quicker or do it instead for the person. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about is how can a bot work with your people and how can it do tasks instead of your people having to do it? So onboarding is an example. The problem, new employee provisioning takes up to 2 or 3 hours of personnel time to enter data into as many as 6 separate systems just to onboard a new employee. So that's a very common scenario is, we have, a new hire and it takes our team, a little while, or maybe it's even as many, a couple hours to get this done. Well, the solution is that once the ticket is created in ServiceNow, yes, there, is a catalog of, yes, new hire has accepted, create the ticket. Then in this case, and we use the UiPath software primarily, though we work with other software packages as well, we found that the UiPath software is very robust and works well, especially with APIs and other things. And so I'm not going to advertise UiPath, but as you can see here on the screen, a UiPath robot picks up the task and provisions the employee into multiple systems. And then the result is that that process got completed accurately and more efficiently. It goes from a couple hours down to a couple minutes to get the bot to do it, because bots can sometimes type even faster than humans can.